It's time for a truly fantastic survivor to test his mettle in Raccoon City. What's up everybody, StevDeS here. It's my favorite time of year! Halloween! The celebration of the spooky, scary, somewhat gory sometimes, and all the while psychologically tormenting. With Halloween being less than a week away, let's go ahead and tackle one franchise that has been there for the longest, and another one that appeared and disappeared just as quickly. Dead Rising and Resident Evil. Let's take the old, revamp it, and give it another character on top of the revamping. I mean, heck, if Tofu came back, you can believe Frank West can be in Raccoon City. It wouldn't be the first time Frank West decided to throw himself into a zombie apocalypse just for the scoop of a lifetime. I mean, come on, he's covered wars, you know. However, given the severity of the Raccoon City outbreak, we're gonna have to spend some time on mechanics first. We're not dealing with your garden variety zombies here. These zombies take a few slugs to take down. Suffice it to say, Frank might want to trade that wooden bat for a metal one and not just hit baseballs with it. Come on, that was stupid. And a jug of orange juice just to shake off what Umbrella's cooked up. Still, Frank's one hell of a survivor, and these zombies are about as smart as the zombies from Dead Rising, so Frank would still be at home. He's killed a lot more, shoulder to shoulder, in fact. So, to be fair, he should be alright. As far as a time period, this would be after the Willamette outbreak, meaning Frank does have the zombification status. You know, he has to take his Zombrex, which would be an item in your inventory. It would unlock a hidden ending if you were to get rid of the Zombrex before the end of the game, since the events of the game happen roughly less than 12 hours. This would happen before the end of Case 0, before the 24-hour Zombrex formula came out. Bottom line, Frank is infected, but he does have a steady supply of Zombrex. In fact, running out of Zombrex is not an issue. It's just an issue if you take your box of Zombrex and throw it away. That's it. And then there's Frank's camera, which also takes an inventory slot. I want to balance Frank out because he can use melee weapons that other characters don't. So, taking up some inventory on a game that is heavy on managing your inventory, I think that would add to the difficulty here. As far as game mechanics is concerned, we can keep the health gauge from the Resident Evil series. You know, fine, caution, danger, all of that. But when it comes down to how certain weapons work, I think weapon durability, as far as the knives are concerned in the remake, I think that should be the norm for any of Frank's weapons. So durability is definitely something to consider, and as far as the guns are concerned, that can stay regular as far as Resident Evil. The only durability we'll borrow is the durability from the knives or any of the weapons from Dead Rising. That durability will just carry over. Now what about the zombies? I know I touched on that a little bit, but let's go into a little bit more detail. Dead Rising zombies are much more numerous. As a matter of fact, killing the entire population of 53,594? Yeah, it's an achievement. Being able to kill that many zombies in 3 days, and Frank's gonna be in the city for about half a day. Honestly, when it comes down to it, it's just one of those things that Dead Rising has over Resident Evil. More zombies, more dangers. However, Resident Evil zombies are much, much more durable, so how are we going to balance that? Suffice it to say, I don't think a wooden bat will land very much against one of those tough zombies that take several headshots to kill. So, in order for a proper middle ground to be there, I would say that the zombies from Dead Island would probably be a good middle ground as far as the zombies you'll encounter in Frank's scenario. He's able to use more melee weapons, but these melee weapons will break sooner, and you can't repair them, so the zombies that are killed will not come back. I think it's balanced as far as how long a melee weapon should last you. Now with game mechanics out of the way, let's get into what if Frank West was in Raccoon City. In the beginning of this, Frank is on the streets when the police make their stand against the zombies in the street. And he sees that things are not going well. Climbing a car and jumping on a ladder, he's able to climb up to some scaffolding and quickly make his way to the roof. Taking pictures of the blood and gore on the streets and knowing that maybe his source was right about this city going to hell. As he travels from roof to roof, intro credits play, making it a lot better than the end credits. I mean, the only thing the end credits really have in that game is the music, which is a staple in any Dead Rising game. But intro credits that are important to the plot will play as far as a background. He's not getting out anytime soon, so taking pictures of the carnage might prove something in the end. Maybe he'll find a survivor or two. In this way, Frank is just introducing what's happened to him. He's already infected, but thanks to the Zombrex he got from Willamette, Colorado, this city was probably just another one of those. He's very much familiar with the zombie threat. In the middle of taking pictures, he does see a car with zombies climbing on it. It ends up crashing, and the people in it apparently look still alive, so that's good. And then he sees a very familiar tanker truck rolling towards them. This is where the game begins officially, when it comes down to choosing your scenario. In the Frank A scenario, he realizes the cop might help him out. After all, his source said something about the police chief. So, therefore, Frank A would follow Leon and try to help Leon out. Frank B would help Claire out and see if Claire knows anything or knows of someone who knows anything in order for him to bust his source out of prison. His source is in a jail cell right now. As far as building a what if, I think Claire's scenario would give us a little bit more creative freedom because there is a time span where we don't know what happened following the crash. She just finds her way there. Frank sees Claire escaping from zombies and he lowers a ladder down to her. As far as he knows, these zombies aren't smart enough to use ladders, nor are they smart enough to use any ducts. So he uses that and helps Claire up as they walk up to the rooftop where no zombies are. After some introductions, Frank has done his homework by now, and he recognizes when she introduces herself as Claire Redfield.
Yeah, he's my brother.
Fantastic, so you can get me into the RPD where they're holding people, can't you?
Why do you want to get into the prison?
Photojournalist isn't just a title, you know. My source was thrown in jail by that bass-ackwards police officer of yours.
Oh, you think the chief of police did this?
It's a theory, and my source has the proof. So can you help me get in, or not?
Well, I met a cop. He told me to meet him at the station. Maybe you can talk with him about it.
Well, let's go then. Sounds like a good lead to me. Frank steps forward a few feet, and then his watch alarm goes off.
Real quick, you are crazy for a story.
Frank pulls a Zombrex out of his pocket and stabs his neck with it. It ain't the first time, kid. Covered wars, you know. Frank and Claire travel together into the graveyard, and we get the scene where Claire talks with Leon. Naturally, Frank gets in the way after a camera flash goes off in Leon's face. They talk a bit, and Frank introduces himself as a photojournalist, and then the helicopter goes off. Frank grabs Claire's arm and makes her move faster than Leon and Claire moved in the original timeline. Forget the boyfriend, Claire, we gotta go, now! After getting into the lobby and putting poor Marvin down, Claire and Frank see a computer. Frank starts accessing it for information, and that's when he realizes that Mr. X just punched a security camera. Yeah, that cutscene plays, and Claire and Frank decide it's probably best for them to split up at this point. Frank finds his way underground, and he ends up meeting with Sherry, who had just gotten away from Birkin. However, after meeting with her, the entrance kind of caves in and now he's stuck with Sherry. Frank decides to interview the kid and tells her to smile for a camera picture. You know, just being that friendly photojournalist, just trying to get the kid to be a little happier than what's going on right now. He even tells her a story about how he's survived something like this, and it's just something that's starting to happen. Sherry starts calming down a lot more when it comes down to that. He finds out that Sherry's parents actually worked for Umbrella, so there is a connection with this child and a corporation, but he still hasn't made the connection between Chief Irons and Umbrella yet. Eventually, he hears a familiar voice, Claire, trying to move the cabinet that got stuck in there. And he helps out at first, but then he lets go wide-eyed. Claire, you got something right behind you. Sure enough, it's G. Birkin, and Birkin does what he does in the regular timeline, with Claire falling and him going through the fight. It's not a fight that Frank West is actually a part of. But don't worry, Frank will have his moment to shine. This is just a fight that seems like it should be Leon or Claire's depending on what run you're doing. When they eventually get to the parking garage and introductions have happened, Frank looks around for anything useful and tries to find a way to the cell where Ben is. Ben is his source. However, just as he's about to open a door, he sees someone confront Sherry and Claire trying to get out into the parking lot. This is not a good thing, as the guy has drawn a gun on someone innocent and he's wearing a police badge. Frank's been around psychos, and this guy is definitely a psycho. However, Frank is in the perfect position to ambush the police chief. He slowly approaches, being as quiet as possible, camera in one hand and baseball bat in the other. In one fell swoop, he bashes the gun out of the police chief's hand, uses the flash from his Nikon D100, which is crystal white, to blind him and get Sherry and Claire to safety. Clearly this guy knows something. This is where we get Frank's first boss fight against the psychopath Chief Irons. He tells Sherry and Claire to make sure nothing else gets in. The last thing they need to deal with is zombies when it comes down to him taking this guy on and wanting some answers. After Frank beats up Chief Irons is able to get a fast one and grab Sherry. That way the story can still be concurrent as far as everybody else's scenario. This is just what Frank does. And instead of Claire being bound and beaten to the side, he just uses Sherry as a hostage like we're gonna be going now. This way the door still closes and they still need to find a way around, allowing a little bit more exploration for both Leon and Claire. Claire decides to split up with Frank again so that she can look one way and he can look another. Besides, he does think the cells are in this direction. Sure enough it is, and Frank is able to meet his source, Ben, who is telling him to get him out of here. Frank wants to, but unfortunately he doesn't have the key, nor does he have a way to open the door. But he does know a cop, so he'll be able to bring that cop back and get Ben out. Before he tries to leave to go get it, and Leon's right around the corner, Frank hears the recording with his interview with Annette Birkin. Ben plays it, and it is within earshot of Leon, who's trying to process all of this. It's then that Leon comes out and holds Frank at gunpoint. He still doesn't 100% trust Frank. Unfortunately, Ben Bertolucci still ends up, well, crush-faced, or bleeding to death, or zombie parasite growing out of his chest. He dies one way or the other, whatever the canon way of his death is. Personally, I think the remake did it the best. The key to the street is still in the cell, so it's something that Leon's gonna have to try to get. And that's where Frank just talks to Leon and says, look, if you'd opened the cell, he'd still be alive. You know, you're not really doing your job as a cop here. Leon naturally tells him to shut up and puts his hands up, but Frank has heard this threat time and time again, and he's going through his camera. And that's when he finds the picture of Irons that he just took. So you think this guy's innocent, huh? What? Where did you... I help you, you help me. Alright, start talking. Ahem. Alright, We'll work together to find the truth. But if I find out you have anything to do with this, you're going behind bars for a long time. That doesn't seem good enough to me, cop boy. Look, I don't know much, okay? This is my first day on the job. You're a rookie? I took it saving your girlfriend, okay? This guy was holding her at gunpoint, making a child we found named Sherry. He wants her for some reason. Apparently the kid's parents work for Umbrella. Umbrella? What do they have to do with anything? They're the ones who caused this. And that is where we're wrapping this up for right now. So what do you all think? Do you think Frank can add to the Resident Evil franchise? Do you think that Zombrex would do anything against the G-Virus? Go ahead and leave your comment below. For more what-ifs in the realm of video gaming and Dragon Ball alike, such as if Plants vs. Zombies actually had a storyline centered around the plants, which has a brand new thumbnail by the way, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao. The first thing he does with the bat is bash his hand down, causing him to drop the gun, and then temporarily blinding him with his Nikon? How do you say that word?